everybody, welcome to A Bridge Between Nations, abbn.com. This video is about how to set up the Williams Sound T45 transmitter, how to use the various controls on the menu and how to set it up in general. So we're going to start by putting on the antenna. That's very simple, it just screws in. This is the standard antenna that normally comes with it, and you simply screw it in the hole on the middle of the top there. Very easy, and it extends all the way up. It's quite a long antenna, so it extends all the way up there. We plug the power supply into the back like that, and then we turn it on the power, and yeah, it's booting up, and so it is ready to do our settings on. The simple settings, here you can see just connected a regular handheld microphone in the back, and you can see that as I speak these little lights dance, and if I go really close and too loud, then you can see the orange ones and then finally the red one go, which means it's too loud. But if I back off a little bit, then we can see we got all the green ones lighting up, which is about the right kind of volume. Now if we want to adjust that, we can do it very easily with these buttons here. You can see if I press the down button, the number changes here. It started out at 0 and now it's going down to -5, -10 dB, and that means it is becoming less sensitive. So now that's effectively lowering the volume. The other simple control on the front here is that you can change the channel very easily. Just by going left and right, you can change channel 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So those are the simple controls. It does have some other features in here that are slightly more complex, and we're going to access those through pressing the menu button, which is here in the middle of the 4 other buttons. So first choice is audio settings. Now if we want to select something on this menu, we press the right arrow. So we're going to say yes, we want to deal with the audio settings, and so we're going to press right, and then we've got the first of our selections is audio source. What do we want as our audio source? So if we press the right arrow again, we can choose between mic or analog line in. That would be if you were connecting a louder signal than a microphone, something like a computer or a PA system. If you're using this for assistive listening, then you probably would connect this to your PA system and you would choose analog line in. So we've also got microphone, we've got phantom microphone, so that's where you provide power to the microphone, so a condenser microphone would need that setting. And then there's also a digital input. If you're putting in a digital signal, if you've got a digital mixer and you're just sending a digital signal in, that's the option. And another digital option, and then a test tone. You can make a test tone if you just wanted to send out a signal just to see whether things were working. But we're going to go back to microphone because that's what we're using. And then we're going to press our left arrow to get back to where we were and see what other options we've got. So now we've got the audio input gain. Now you remember just before I pressed these buttons to change the audio input gain, and that in my mind is by far the easiest way to do it. But you can also, if you want to, do it with these buttons here within the menu. I don't know why you would want to do it from within the menu rather than just doing it when you first boot up, but that is an option. Audio preset is quite a useful function. This allows you to set the transmitter in the best mode for the purpose that you're using it. We've got, in this case, we're set for music. Actually, that's not what we want. We want voice because basically I'm just transmitting my voice through a microphone, so voice is what we want. And it changes the things like the high and low pass filters and the compression when you make these adjustments. Another useful one here is the hearing assistance one, and that's a common one. If you're going to be using this as a hearing assistance system, you would select this particular preset, and to select it, we are going to come out of the menu like that, and you can see that we have changed it to audio assist. So going back into the menu, we are in our audio inputs. You can choose your headphone source. Not a particularly useful setting, but if you're plugging in a headphone here, which again you're not probably likely to do very often, but if you were wanting to just check that everything is working right, you might plug it in there, and you can choose whether your headphone source is from the audio that is transmitted or the audio that is input into your system. Probably not something that many people are going to use very often. And there's also in here you can adjust your headphone volume, and this, to my mind, is a very inconvenient way of adjusting a headphone volume. A little knob on the side would have made it a lot easier. But again, this is not something that you're going to be using very often, so it probably doesn't really matter. So those are our audio settings. I'm going to go back now and look at our RF. RF is radio frequency, so these are our radio settings. And we're going to look inside here. So first thing we can do is change our channel. And again, this is something that we had the option of doing before we went into the menu, which is a much easier way of doing it. But if we wanted to do it inside the menu, we can do it here. Output power. Most of the time you're going to want to be on full power. There are occasions where you might want to lower that power down to medium or low power, or even perhaps take it off air completely. We do that sometimes if we're in a crowded convention center and we're using, we've got a lot of rooms that are very close together. Sometimes we're going to turn our power down so that we avoid interference between rooms, but it's an unusual situation. Most of the time you're just going to leave it on full power. Then we have a timeout setting, which basically means if here we've got it set that the radio signal will switch itself off if nothing happens for 30 minutes. So if you stop speaking or stop providing any audio for 30 minutes, and you can change that, you can make it 4 hours or a different amount of time. If there's no audio for that amount of time, the radio will switch itself off, the radio transmission. Again, it's not a huge importance, but sometimes it can be helpful. Preferences. Let's look at our preferences. So display mode, that's interesting. We can choose to change to display either the channel or the frequency. At the moment we're displaying the channel, like channel 1, 2, 3, 4. We could, if we preferred, display the frequency, like 72.1, 72.5, etc. And channel mode. This has a couple of options. You can choose to have 17 channel mode, where all of the 17 channels that are possible in this band are available to you, and you might use that if you're using an unusual frequency, if you want to use an unusual frequency, or if you're perhaps working with receivers that were made by a different company and perhaps aren't on the same exact frequency. So you can access anything you need if you're in 17 channel mode. Or in 8 channel mode, it matches very well with the Williams Sound R37-8 receiver, which has 8 channels. And so in 8 channel mode, the channels correspond exactly to the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the dial on the top there, and also on the R38 you can put that into 8 channel mode and again have channels 1 through 8. So that's particularly useful if you are planning to transmit on all 8 channels. If you're perhaps running 8 languages, then you can set 8 channels, and these are the 8 that will work together simultaneously without interfering with each other. You can also choose the screen timeout. That means that this screen will switch itself off after a certain amount of time. We've got it set at the moment for 30 minutes, but it could be 2 hours, or it could be always on. Not a huge deal, but the choices are available. And then almost finally, we've got the description. If you want to, you can type in a name here. You can put in whatever name you want your T45 to be called. You can put that in here. We have one item left on the preferences menu, which is to restore defaults. In other words, to set it back to the way it came from the factory with all the original settings. And finally, we have add-on module, and there is no add-on module detected because we have no add-on module here. So that's it on the settings for the Williams Sound PPA T45. So let's look at the inputs on the back of the T45. So on the right hand side here we have the regular input. This is the analog audio input, so the normal input, and you can use that to connect an interpreter control unit, or you can connect it to a regular analog mixer. This is a dual plug. It takes either an XLR plug, or it will also accept a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch goes in there like that. It has an RCA output there, useful for recording, and then it has a digital input. If you're connecting directly to a digital mixer, then you would use that input. We have an exterior antenna connector here. If you wanted to add an external antenna, you would simply remove this lug with a wrench or a pair of pliers, and then you can connect your antenna onto the back here. Different versions of this model have an Ethernet connection. This particular one does not. And then you have the power supply input there. I will say that there are a couple of different versions of this transmitter. This is the plain T45. It also comes in a T45 Pro, and the Pro version simply has a couple of rack mounts so that you can mount this into an audio rack, and it comes with an external antenna that you plug in the back instead of on top, because if it's in a rack you probably wouldn't have a place to put that kind of antenna. So that's the Pro version. It also comes in a version called the Net, and that's kind of cool because that allows you to operate it via an iPad. It is network connected, and you can change all of these settings and adjust volume and frequency, etc. through an iPad. So that's a kind of a cool version if you need that function. And there is also a version called the T45D, which has a Dante connection. So if you're using Dante, that is the model you need. Okay, I think that's about it on the Williams Sound T45, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll have another video soon. Thanks.